in our view, BBI is the only way to conclusively address the 2/3 gender rule in all spheres of administration, both in the parliament, in the executive, and in the counties, and also in the private sector. So we gather here today as women leaders from across various political shades and opinion brought together. In the last couple of weeks, there has been immense anxiety and an air of uncertainty in the country. Citizens, particularly the women, have been deeply disappointed by the failure by Parliament to enact the gender rule as contained in the Constitution of 2010. It is our considered opinion that the best avenue to address the standoff that has frustrated the gender rule is the BBI. In this regard, while expressing our support for the BBI agenda, we expect that the BBI process will not only protect but expand women's gains in the Constitution. The BBI presents a historic opportunity for full and conclusive implementation of the 2/3 gender rule, and we therefore hope that the final report we therefore expect that the final report to be released soon will reflect this position. We're in complete agreement with His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta that peace, unity of purpose, and stability are tested and proven preconditions for economic progress. Even in the best of times, no nation has ever pulled itself up and achieved economic growth while citizens are torn down the middle along ethnic, religious, and party lines, and leaders talking at cross purposes. During a special meeting with the leadership of our two houses of Parliament last Saturday, His Excellency the President pronounced himself clearly on his expectation of the elected representatives of the people at this critical moment that our country is focusing on reconstruction, recovery, and reforms. The President expressed his keen interest in delivering on the Big Four agenda, in addition to helping the country move past the stagnation caused by the coronavirus pandemic. We are here to express support to His Excellency the President on the agenda he shared and the concerns he raised on the dangers we need to watch out for if we are to get back on our feet as a nation. We are therefore here to express unreserved support to His Excellency the President in his call on us, politicians, to tame our personal ambitions, albeit temporarily, for the sake of the economic recovery and stability of our nation. Our country has been known to stagnate every election campaign year. As uncertainty sets in, making investors stay away and economic activity dwindles. This time around, unless we heed His Excellency the President's call for the restraint, the stagnation may set in much earlier, as campaigns seem to have started in earnest right after 2017 elections, with all the divisions and fears that come with it. The coronavirus pandemic only worsened what was a bad situation. Under the circumstances, our nation would best be served if we exercise restraint, cut down on the early campaigns, and join hands in helping the country stabilize and recover. We are in agreement that a country cannot run on a permanent stream of promises. There is a time to make promises, and there is a time to fulfill those promises. The current situation where new promises are being made even before the old ones are unfulfilled is deeply worrying and confusing, and this must be contained. Thank you.
BBI report, and what we are anxious about is actually implementing what women of this country have presented to BBI Secretariat. And clearly, we must, as a country, implement the 2/3 gender rule. Number two, in the implementation, it must be at all levels, at the national level, executive. Number two, at the legislative level, that is Parliament. Number three, at the county level. So all those structures, as far as two-third gender rule is concerned, must be able to implement two-third gender rule, and we expect actually that in BBI report. Number three, I want to tell those who are opposing BBI, because we cannot oppose what we don't know. The report is not out, but people are shouting out there saying we are opposing BBI. We cannot be a country of opposing everything. We must wait, read what is in BBI, and when you oppose, you should know what you are opposing. But we cannot be opposing everything in this country. So as women of this country, I would say that we are going to support BBI, and I believe BBI will be able to implement, or rather, the report should be able to capture what women of this country have presented to the Secretariat. And finally, I want to say that we must be actually peaceful as a country. And as women of this country, we are going to actually make sure that we are negotiating, and we'll make sure that there is peaceful process as far as BBI report launching and implementation is concerned. Because this country, we have faced a lot of problems, and as women of this country, we cannot sit and watch things falling apart. So we are actually asking the country, be peaceful, don't listen to rumor mongers. This country belongs to all of us. We must be actually sober as far as we expect, and also wait for this report to be launched. Don't listen to the rumor mongers. Don't listen to those who are actually interested in personal interest. Personal interest, we don't want to listen to it. We must hold together as a country and make sure that we uphold what is best for our country. I thank you.
We are gathered here as women leaders to say that in principle, we support the BBI. We are saying we are supporting the BBI in principle because we do not know as yet what is contained. But in principle, from what we have heard, it's about building bridges. And building bridges, which includes building ethnic bridges, building gender bridges, building geographical bridges, are building peace, because this country has been broken, and we are seeking to build those bridges. And that is why, as the women who are here, and most of us here are actually elected women or women in various leadership positions, from governor to senators to members of National Assembly and some MCS. And we want to say that because it's about building also gender bridges, that the concept of building is not about taking away. It's about adding to what is there. And so our understanding is, one, what is already there will not be taken away. So if we have women reps, the women reps will stay, will not be taken away. But on top of that, that if a Senate has less women, that they will be building gender bridges by adding more women. And also that because we are having a crisis on the 2/3 gender rule, that the building bridges will sort out that issue even before we get to the advisory, because Parliament has actually not been able to sort out this issue. And with that in mind, and with that principle, I'd want to borrow from a Christian principle in Ephesians, where Christians are told to put on the full armor of God. And as women, we are ready to put on the full armor of BBI to support in pushing the BBI agenda. And our breastplate in the fight for this, in support of BBI, is that nothing is taken away from women. And that women, the position that women have in BBI is protected and is affirmed and is enhanced. That is what we have as women. Thank you.
But we were instrumental in making sure that we put our voices on the report. And of course, we get a bit wary because a few days or a few hours towards the report being released, we don't want anyone to tamper with what we had negotiated for women, what we had gained up to today for women. and what we aspire to have as this generation of women for the next generation. When we hear that Senate is going to have 47 women, so 1 woman, 1 man, we're very happy, that's a gain. But when we hear that the women reps in the National Assembly will be scrapped, then that is not a gain. That is not what we asked for. We don't want to lose anything that we already have. Can you imagine a National Assembly that has no women? And yet that is where legislation for 70% of the government's funding, the executive, is spent. We will not have money to do anything that we need to do to advance women. We're 50% women, 50% men. So we're saying that whatever we have as women today, that has been fought for by sweat and blood by women before us, we are not going to accept if it's lost. So we want to support the BBI because we felt it would solve the problems that we encountered as women in terms of trying to get the 2/3 gender bill in the National Assembly. There's another area that I also feel that, and we hope that the BBI would have solved, is the parties, the political parties. Political parties also have to be held into account in giving nominations to women. Because where they give women the tickets, the women are then able to advance into leadership. So we want to also end this acrimony of men making us look like Punguza Mzigo is the women. We are part and parcel of this country. This country has a representation of women in the electorate, and they need a representation of women also in the leadership. And we hope that also on those very top seats, that we will, the deputies, where we will have at least 2. And what we're hearing is that maybe out of the 5 we will have 1. No, we would like 2. Put 6 if you have to, but we need 2. We cannot have 1 woman. So what we are hoping that by the time that report is launched, we as women will be dancing and saying we are going with the BBI 100% full throttle. We don't want to feel that we have actually lost, because there will be nothing to sing and dance about if we have lost the gains that we envisaged and which we asked for as we went to see the BBI task force. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm just adding my voice to what my colleagues are saying, my fellow women. It is only important that as we have been going through the process of giving out our requests to be added in BBI process, the women of Kenya are looking at us. We are their front, and they want to see what women leaders will do for them. It is only fair if we support what supports women. It is as put by other women that in principle we are going to support. But it will be a big exposure on us, women leaders, if we are going to support what is not supporting our fellow women. So it is for us, if it is true, we don't know. We are just talking what we don't know. We've not seen the report. But if it is true that there will be a plus 47 at the Senate and a minus 47 in the National Assembly, then there will be no gain. That is 0. Plus 47 minus 47 is 0. So what we are saying in short is Kenyan women leaders are in full support, and you have seen us supporting handshake. In the process, we went for BBI to give our input, and now it's now time of implementation, and we are saying as they are implementing, our gains must be kept. There is no two way about it. We'll be very sorry when we are not agreeing because women issues are not taken into consideration. Thank you.
Sehemu tofauti na pia vyama vya kisiasa tofauti na pia tuko na wawakilishi kutoka bunge za kaunti. Na tunajua hivi karibuni siku chache tu kutakuwa kuzinduliwa kwa ile ripoti ya BBI. Na tunajua msafara huu wa ripoti ya BBI umekuwa msafara mrefu ambao umechukua maoni ya Wakenya kutoka nyanja zote za taifa letu la Kenya. Hivyo basi sisi kama kina mama tuliweza kupeleka mapendekezo yetu, na tulipeleka mapendekezo yetu tukijua ya kwamba zile faida ama yale mapato ambayo sasa hivi tumepata kupitia uongozi wa kina mama, kama vile kuwa na kina mama 47 katika bunge la kitaifa na upande wa seneti na pia hata kule katika bunge za kaunti. Tunasema faida kama hizi ambazo tumezipata lazima ziwe zimelindwa na zimehakikishwa ya kwamba faida hizi zitaweza kubakia. Na vile vile pia tulipeana mapendekezo zaidi ya kuweza kupata faida zaidi katika uongozi, na haswa kuangalia uongozi na hali ya jinsia. Tunajua sasa hivi kulikuwa na changamoto ya kwamba bunge la kitaifa liweze kuvunjwa kwa sababu ya kutokimu sheria ambayo iko katika katiba yetu. Hivyo basi tunajua ripoti hii ya BBI itaweza kuangazia swala hilo na kuweza kupata formula muhimu sana, ama kuweza kupata njia mwafaka ya kuweza kutatua tatizo kama hilo, ndiyo tusiwe tena na mtafaruku ama na sitofahamu ya kisheria ambayo inaweza kujiri tena kwa wakati mwingine. Tunazungumzia pia kwa sababu tunajua kina mama wamekuwa na historia sana katika nyanja za uongozi, na ndio sababu kila wakati tukizungumzia mambo ya jinsia hatuzungumzii tu kuwa tunazungumzia kina mama, tunazungumzia kina baba na kina mama. Na tunajua katika hiyo mambo ya jinsia kuna wale wenzetu ambao ni walemavu wa kike na wa kiume, na pia kuna wale ambao ni vijana wa kike na wa kiume. Hao pia lazima zile faida ambazo wamezipata, na pia kwa sababu faida zao zilikuwa ni chache katika nyanja za uongozi, waweze pia kuongezewa ili uwakilishaji wao uweze kuwa ni uwakilishaji wa kuweza kusikika na uwakilishaji wa kuweza kuwapatia manufaa wale wanaowawakilisha. Hivyo pia tunazungumzia ya kwamba katika kuzindua ripoti hii ya BBI tunataka tuwe na amani kama taifa la Kenya, kwa sababu haswa lengo na madhumuni ya BBI ilikuwa kuleta Wakenya pamoja, kuweza kuweka amani katika taifa letu la Kenya, na kuweza kuangazia yale matatizo nyeti ambayo pengine yangetuletea uhasama sisi kama taifa la Kenya, ikiwemo marekebisho ya mambo ya uchaguzi. Kwa hivyo tunafikiria ama tunatarajia na matarajio makubwa ya kwamba mambo haya yatakuwa yameangaziwa katika ripoti hii, ili tuwe tumepata suluhisho la kudumu. Na pia tunajiambia sisi kama viongozi na taifa kwa jumla, tuache siasa za mapema, haswa siasa za uhasama, siasa ambazo zinaweza kutugawanya sisi wa Kenya, zinaweza kutuletea chuki sisi wa Kenya, zinaweza kutuletea mtafaruku katika taifa letu la Kenya. Tuliahidi wa Kenya maendeleo, tukaahidi wa Kenya kuwapatia miradi. Huno ni wakati mwafaka wa kuendelea kuwapatia zile ahadi zao tulizowapa, kuweza kuhakikisha ya kwamba tumeshikana pamoja kufufua uchumi wetu ambao juzi na jana uliweza kuathirika kwa sababu ya janga la corona. Tushikane pamoja kama taifa, tuone ya kwamba BBI imezungumzia matakwa ya Wakenya, haswa yule mlalahoi, yule maskini, yule aliye pale chini, kwa sababu wamezungumza sana. Vijana wamezungumzia mambo ya ajira, kina mama, wazee wamezungumzia kujenga uwezo kiuchumi. Tuone ya kwamba je, mambo haya yameangaziwa vipi katika ripoti hino ya BBI, ndiposa Wakenya waweze kuwa na matumaini, na hivyo basi tuweze kuendelea na mchakato huu wa BBI, kwa sababu baada ya kuzunduliwa kutakuwa na zile njia zingine, ama kutakuwa na yale madaraja mengine ambayo tutaendelea nayo, ili tufikie ya kwamba tumepata ile katiba ama sheria ambayo italinda matakwa yale ya Wakenya. Asanteni.
Thank you. Na angalia mambo ya watu walio na ulemavu, na vile ambavyo mmesikia kutoka kwa wenzangu ni kwamba sisi kama wamama, sisi kama wabunge tumekuwa mstari wa mbele katika ile maneno ya BBI. Nadhani mmekuwa mkituona nchini Kenya tulipokuwa tukizunguka kutoka county mpaka county, region mpaka region, tukiweza kuelimisha Wakenya sana kuhusu BBI na yale manufaa ambayo BBI ilikuwa imeandalia Wakenya. Kwa hivyo mimi kwa niaba ya wamama walio na ulemavu ama watu walio na ulemavu, tena vile ambavyo mmesikia BBI ndio ambayo itaangazia maneno ya watu walio na ulemavu nchini Kenya, kuhakikisha kwamba ile tunaita representation yetu pia inachukuliwa na inapatiwa kipaumbele katika BBI. Kwa hivyo mimi kama mama mwakilishi wa watu walio na ulemavu pia ninasema kwamba katika ile tunasema kwamba ni kuangalia maneno ya wamama, kuhakikisha kwamba ile tunaita gender iko, tutasahau pia watu walio na ulemavu, tutasahau wamama walio na ulemavu nchini Kenya, kwa sababu statistics zaonyesha kwamba watu walio na ulemavu hasa wamama ni kadri milioni 3.5. Hiyo ni population ambayo ni kubwa, na hatuwezi tukaongea tu hivi tunasema kwamba watu waingie katika BBI bila kumention ama bila kutaja watu ama wamama walio na ulemavu. Tunaposema kwamba tunasonga mbele ku represent Kenya mzima, ile BBI inasema inclusivity. Na katika Kenya hatuwezi ongea inclusivity bila kuongea kuhusu watu walio na ulemavu. Na kwa hivyo sisi kama wamama tunabeba pia ile jina ya wamama walio na ulemavu nchini Kenya, ili tunapoongea kuhusu kuweka mama hapa, pia wamama walio na ulemavu pia wako na nafasi katika ile BBI. Kwa hivyo mimi nina uhakika kwamba yale matokeo ambayo yatatokea wiki hii ama wiki ijayo ni matokeo ambayo watu walio na ulemavu na vijana wetu nchini Kenya watajisikia kwamba wako part ya hiyo mchakato ambayo itakuwa nchini. Ili kwa hivyo sasa tuweze kuenjoy fruits za BBI tukiwa wote pamoja. Hiyo ndio inclusivity. Na sisi walio na ulemavu tunangoja kusupport BBI kwa sababu ina mambo mazuri kwetu, na inavyokuwa pia na mambo mazuri kwa vijana, inavyokuwa na mambo mazuri kwa wamama na watu walio na ulemavu, na wamama pia wako ndani walio na. So kwa mara ya kwanza tutaona pia watu walio na ulemavu na wamama katika nyadhifa hizo ambazo BBI inatupanga. Kwa hivyo tuna uhakika kwamba tutachukuana wote pamoja hivyo nchini Kenya, ili tuweze kupromote ile inclusivity ya ukweli ambayo BBI inatupatia mbele. Asante. Nashukuru.
I think we want to add one thing on the issue of the alternative gender rule. It was one of the issues that we had been pushing for a very long time, and especially at the county level, at the governor and the deputy. It is also one of those expectations that we have, that we will observe alternative gender rule across in the county level, in the National Assembly. So therefore, if you have a speaker who is a man, the deputy is a woman,
and vice versa.
And vice versa. And it can also be a woman who is a speaker, and then the alternate is a man. So the issue of the alternative gender rule is one of the other issues that we had proposed. And let us explain why we keep pushing for matters gender. It is not just for the positions. It's because you cannot make proper policy decisions without being adequately represented at the table. Matters to do with health, you will need to have women on the table discussing that issue, just like you would need to have men on that table. If you're going to be talking about reproductive health, if you're talking about care, community-based care, if you're talking about provision of medical services, you cannot do that with only one gender at the table. So when we are talking about gender, it's not just for the position for the sake of it. Matters to do with agriculture. Right now, in our counties, we are struggling with the issue of prices for tea. The people who care for those farms and collect tea are women. And the people most affected by not being able to have their children in school because of COVID, and at the same time having reduced income, are women. So we are expecting that the gender issue will address broader policy objectives to ensure that the country is economically advanced. So 50% of the people in this country are women, and we are expecting that our proposals that we have put forward to these experts will be taken into consideration. Let me also add that we have good faith and great faith in the experts. They have been at it for 1 year. We know they have found a solution for the issue of the 2/3 gender rule. That it will no longer be another proposal to the National Assembly, but the solution to the 2/3 gender rule will have been achieved by the experts who have drafted this BBI report. Yes. It's jambo. Tutawaita sasa, ikitolewa tutawaita sasa, tuambie kama kina mama. Sasa tungoje tuisome, alafu turudi.
Tutaongea.